When people think of Adventure Time, one image tends to come to mind before all others: a boy and his magical dog, standing side by side, ready to face whatever Ooh throws at them. Finn and Jake are more than just the show's central characters. They are the heartbeat of the series. Their friendship is the lens through which the audience first encounters Ooh, and it is the foundation that allows every other relationship, every philosophical question, and every adventure to unfold. To understand the meaning of friendship in Adventure Time, we must begin here, with Finn the human and Jake the dog. From the beginning, Finn and Jake's bond is presented as natural and unshakable. They live together in the tree fort, eat together, train together, and adventure together. Their relationship is not built on dramatic exposition or carefully explained backstory. Instead, it emerges through action. Viewers see a friendship that is lived in and effortless, full of inside jokes, playful bickering, and a trust so deep it never needs to be stated outright. In this way, their bond mirrors real-world siblinghood, not defined by constant declarations of loyalty, but by the quiet constancy of shared life. At its core, Finn and Jake's friendship is a mixture of brotherhood, mentorship, and equal partnership. Jake acts as Finn's older brother figure, often guiding him through challenges with advice that ranges from wise to ridiculous. He tempers Finn's impulsive energy with a laid-back perspective, reminding him to enjoy life even when stakes are high. At the same time, Jake is no distant mentor. He is Finn's playmate, his partner in mischief, and his fellow hero. Their friendship is not hierarchical, even though Jake is older. Instead, it is fluid, shifting naturally between roles depending on the moment. What makes this relationship compelling is how it adapts as Finn grows older. Early on, Finn is the eager young hero, hungry for adventure, eager to prove himself, and guided by Jake's experience. Jake, with his shape-shifting abilities and relaxed personality, seems to have everything figured out. But as time passes, the dynamic begins to balance. Finn matures, becoming more independent, thoughtful, and capable of making decisions on his own. Rather than creating distance, this growth strengthens their friendship. Jake is proud of Finn's evolution, and Finn never loses his gratitude for Jake's guidance. In this way, their bond models how real friendships must adapt to survive, by embracing growth rather than resisting it. The philosophy of Finn and Jake's friendship is rooted in acceptance. They are not identical, and in fact, they embody very different outlooks on life. Finn thrives on action, duty, and the belief that heroes must protect others. He is driven, earnest, and often restless. Jake, on the other hand, values comfort, relaxation, and the joys of simple pleasures, from sandwiches to naps to playing the viola. At first glance, these differences could create friction. Yet what emerges instead is complementarity. Finn pushes Jake to engage with the world beyond his comforts, while Jake reminds Finn not to burn himself out in pursuit of abstract ideals. Their friendship is not about sameness, but about balance, each completing what the other lacks. This balance is most clearly seen when their loyalty is tested. Ooh is not a safe world. They face monsters, cosmic threats, moral dilemmas, and personal heartbreaks. Yet, in every crisis, Finn and Jake return to each other. When Finn is overwhelmed by his human loneliness, Jake reminds him that he is never truly alone. When Jake confronts his anxieties about responsibility, his strange heritage, or his family, Finn is there to remind him of his worth. Their friendship provides both with a foundation so solid that even the chaos of Ooh cannot shake it. Finn and Jake's friendship is also defined by play. In many ways, their adventures are extensions of the games. Children play in backyards or bedrooms, elaborate quests, made real by imagination. Even when they face genuine danger, their attitude toward adventure retains an element of fun. This playful quality underscores a truth about friendship, that companionship makes even the harshest realities more bearable. The Tree Fort, with its video games, music, and endless pranks, is not just their home, but a physical symbol of their shared joy. At the same time, their friendship is not immune to conflict. There are moments when Jake lets Finn down, when Finn's intensity clashes with Jake's nonchalance, or when secrets cause tension. Yet what distinguishes their bond is how these conflicts resolve. Neither holds grudges. Instead, they communicate, forgive, and move forward. This resilience reinforces the philosophy that true friendship is not about perfection, but about endurance. Disagreements are not signs of weakness, but opportunities to reaffirm loyalty. An important layer of Finn and Jake's relationship is how it shapes their identities beyond themselves. For Finn, Jake is a constant reminder that he belongs in Ooh despite being the only known human for much of the series. Jake's acceptance allows Finn to thrive without being defined by his loneliness. For Jake, Finn represents a tether to responsibility and growth. While Jake often prefers comfort, his love for Finn drives him to step into challenges he might otherwise avoid. Together, they help each other become fuller, more complete versions of themselves. The symbolism of their friendship extends beyond personal growth to the larger themes of Adventure Time. Ooh is a fractured world, born from destruction and shaped by countless species, cultures, and conflicts. In such a world, Finn and Jake's unwavering bond represents stability. They may not solve every cosmic problem or heal every wound, but their friendship endures. It becomes a microcosm of the show's central philosophy, that connection, not power, is what sustains life. Perhaps the most touching aspect of Finn and Jake's friendship is how ordinary it feels, even amidst the extraordinary. They are heroes who battle liches and elementals, yet their most memorable moments are often the simplest. Making breakfast, jamming on instruments, or sitting on the fort's balcony watching the world. These quiet scenes remind viewers that friendship is not defined only by grand gestures or epic sacrifices, but by the daily rhythm of life shared together. In a show filled with gods, monsters, and magic, it is these ordinary acts of companionship that feel most enduring. As the story of Adventure Time unfolds, Finn and Jake's bond survives not only adventures, but also the natural changes of life. Jake becomes a father, Finn matures into adulthood, and yet their connection remains intact. This continuity affirms the idea that friendship does not have to fade when life evolves. Instead, true friendship adapts, finding new forms, new expressions, but always holding the same core of trust and love. Finn and Jake's legacy as friends is perhaps Adventure Time's greatest gift to its audience. They model a friendship that is fun, flawed, patient, forgiving, and resilient. It is not idealized in a way that feels unreachable, nor is it trivialized. Instead, it reflects the complexities of real human relationships while framing them in a fantastical world. Through Finn and Jake, Adventure Time argues that friendship is not merely a subplot to adventure, it is the adventure itself. In the end, their bond illustrates the heart of Ooh's philosophy, that survival in a chaotic, uncertain world depends not on strength or magic alone, but on the connections we form. Finn and Jake remind us that a true friend is both shield and sanctuary, someone who shares the burden of battles, the joy of victories, and the quiet of ordinary days. Their friendship is not only the meaning of Adventure Time, it is the meaning of life in U. If Finn and Jake are the beating heart of Adventure Time, then Princess Bubblegum and Marceline the Vampire Queen are its testament to the complexities of friendship, how bonds can fracture, wither, and yet return stronger than before. Their relationship is one of the richest in the series, not because it is always harmonious, but because it reflects the real challenges of trust, pride, forgiveness, and reconciliation. To explore the meaning of friendship in U, one must look closely at these two figures: rulers, rebels, scientists, artists, who embody the idea that even the deepest divides can be bridged. From their earliest appearances together, it is clear that Marceline and Princess Bubblegum share history. The familiarity in their banter, the sharpness of their conflicts, and the undercurrent of care in their actions all point to a friendship that predates the events viewers witness. Unlike Finn and Jake, whose friendship is foregrounded and uncomplicated, Marceline and Bubblegum's connection is layered with absence and misunderstanding. This makes their bond not only compelling but essential. It reveals how Adventure Time treats friendship not as a static state, but as a living, evolving process. At first glance, Bubblegum and Marceline could not be more different. Bubblegum is the ruler of the Candy Kingdom, defined by her logic, science, and responsibility. She shoulders the weight of protecting her citizens, often at the cost of her own emotional openness. Marceline, by contrast, is a free spirit. She thrives on music, wandering, and self-expression, often appearing to reject responsibility entirely. Where Bubblegum builds systems and fortresses, Marceline tears down walls with a guitar riff and a smirk. Their personalities seem diametrically opposed, the scientist queen versus the punk vampire. Yet it is precisely in these differences that their friendship takes root, because each sees in the other something they themselves lack. What complicates their bond is pride. Both are strong-willed, independent figures who guard their vulnerabilities carefully. Bubblegum resents Marceline's teasing, reading it as disdain. Marceline feels alienated by Bubblegum's formality and tendency to prioritize duty over personal connection. Their early clashes reveal two friends who still care deeply but cannot yet admit it. This is the philosophy of estranged friendship in U, that love can remain beneath anger, waiting for a chance to surface. The turning point in their dynamic comes through moments of vulnerability. Marceline, beneath her confidence and humour, is profoundly lonely. She has lived through centuries, outlasting nearly everyone she once loved. Bubblegum, despite her power and intellect, is equally lonely, consumed by her role as ruler and wary of opening herself up. When these vulnerabilities are exposed, whether through music, crisis, or quiet conversation, their friendship rekindles. Adventure Time shows here that friendship often requires not only shared joy, but shared pain. It is in the admission of loneliness and imperfection that trust is rebuilt. Music plays a unique role in their connection. Marceline's songs often carry hidden truths about her feelings, longing, regret, love. Bubblegum, though not as musically inclined, listens, responds, and allows those songs to bridge the gap between them. Music becomes their language of reconciliation, a way of saying what pride or fear prevents them from speaking outright. Through these moments, the show frames friendship not only as a matter of words, but as a matter of shared experiences, creative expression, and silent understanding. Another defining feature of their friendship is how it evolves from conflict into alliance. Bubblegum's kingdom often faces threats that demand unity, and Marceline, despite her rebellious nature, consistently steps in when it matters. She may mock PB's obsession with control, but when the Candy Kingdom is in danger, Marceline fights for her. Likewise, Bubblegum, though she may be frustrated by Marceline's carefree ways, never doubts her power or her courage. Their partnership in battle reflects a deeper truth. Friendship does not require identical values, but it thrives on trust in each other's strengths. Their reconciliation is not immediate. It is gradual, marked by small gestures, Bubblegum trusting Marceline with responsibility, Marceline letting her guard down to show care. Each moment chips away at the walls they've built. This slow rebuilding makes their eventual closeness resonate all the more, because it mirrors real life. Broken friendships do not heal overnight, but through steady acts of faith and forgiveness. The symbolism of their bond is profound. Bubblegum and Marceline represent two poles of existence: structure and freedom, reason and emotion, science and art. Their friendship suggests that OO thrives not when one pole dominates, but when opposites learn to coexist. The world is fractured, and only by bridging differences can stability emerge. In this way, their friendship reflects the larger philosophy of Adventure Time itself. Connection across divides is the true source of survival and meaning. An essential aspect of their dynamic is how it subverts expectations about gender and power. Adventure Time does not frame their friendship as a competition between two powerful women, nor as a simple backdrop for the male characters. Instead, it gives their bond autonomy, weight, and evolution. They are not defined in relation to others, but in relation to each other. And this focus elevates their friendship into one of the show's most important narratives. Their friendship also highlights the importance of forgiveness. Marceline forgives Bubblegum for her controlling tendencies, recognizing the pressure PB faces as ruler. Bubblegum forgives Marceline's teasing and unpredictability, understanding that it often masks deeper fears. Forgiveness here is not presented as a one-time event, but as an ongoing process, a continual choice to see the best in the other. This reflects the reality of long-term friendships, where imperfections must be accepted rather than erased. By the later stages of Adventure Time, Bubblegum and Marceline's friendship matures into something stable and enduring. They are no longer estranged or tentative, but confident in each other's loyalty. In moments of crisis, they stand side by side. In moments of peace, they share quiet companionship. Their bond demonstrates that reconciliation is not just possible, but transformative. It turns former tension into a new depth of trust. The legacy of their friendship extends beyond themselves. For viewers, Bubblegum and Marceline model a kind of relationship that is often absent from fantasy storytelling, one that values vulnerability, healing, and the courage to change. They show that friendship is not static, that it can break and mend, and that these processes are not signs of weakness, but of strength. OO, as a world scarred by past wars and disasters, is mirrored in their bond, fractured, healed, and made stronger by reconciliation. Ultimately, the friendship between Princess Bubblegum and Marceline captures one of Adventure Time's most profound lessons: that trust can be lost, but not always destroyed. With patience, humility, and love, even the deepest rifts can be bridged. Their story is not about perfection or ease, but about the difficult, beautiful work of rebuilding connection. In a show where cosmic entities and existential threats loom large, it is this simple truth that feels most powerful. Friendship, when nurtured, has the power to outlast fear, pride, and even centuries of loneliness. Adventure Time thrives on relationships that defy simplicity, and few embody this truth more than the bond between Finn the human and Princess Bubblegum. Their friendship is one of the most fascinating and layered connections in U, beginning as a boy's crush on a seemingly unattainable princess and evolving into a mature, respectful companionship built on trust and shared responsibility. This evolution, from longing to letting go, from idolization to equal respect, makes their relationship a crucial part of the show's exploration of what friendship really means. At the start, Finn's feelings for Bubblegum are framed as straightforward. He is young, energetic, and full of heroic ideals, and she represents everything he admires: intelligence, kindness, and power. His affection for her is both romantic and aspirational. She is not just someone he wants to be with, but someone he wants to live up to. For Finn, who grows up without parents and with little sense of human community, Bubblegum becomes a beacon, an anchor in a chaotic world. She validates his desire to be a hero by treating him seriously, and this recognition deepens his attachment. For Bubblegum, however, the dynamic is more complicated. As ruler of the Candy Kingdom, she carries immense responsibility, and her perspective on Finn is shaped by both affection and caution. She admires his bravery and goodness, but she also recognizes his youth and naivety. Bubblegum is centuries older than Finn, with experiences and burdens that far exceed his understanding. While she enjoys his company and values his loyalty, she cannot reciprocate his romantic feelings. This tension forms the foundation of their early dynamic. Finn pursues, PB resists, and both struggle with the gap between them. What makes this relationship essential to the philosophy of friendship in U is how it evolves. Adventure Time does not freeze Finn's crush as a permanent subplot, nor does it dismiss it as childish infatuation. Instead, the show allows both characters to grow through the process. Finn gradually learns that love cannot be forced or idealized, and that true friendship sometimes requires letting go of romantic expectations. Bubblegum, in turn, learns that honesty and kindness must balance her instinct for control, and that friendship with Finn requires treating him not as a child or a subject, but as an equal. The turning point in their relationship comes when Finn accepts the limits of their bond. He recognizes that Bubblegum's responsibilities, her age, and her outlook put her in a different stage of life. His growth lies in realizing that her value to him does not diminish because she is unavailable romantically. This realization reflects one of Adventure Time's central lessons, that friendship is not a consolation prize after romance fails, but a powerful and enduring connection in its own right. By stepping back from his crush, Finn opens the door to a deeper, more authentic relationship. Bubblegum, for her part, also grows through her connection with Finn. While she often acts as a mentor or authority figure, she learns to appreciate Finn's perspective as well. His earnestness, idealism, and refusal to compromise on doing what's right remind her of values she risks losing under the weight of leadership. Through Finn, she reconnects with her own humanity, or rather, with the vulnerability and emotional honesty that her role as ruler often suppresses. In this way, their friendship becomes reciprocal. Finn learns maturity and acceptance, while Bubblegum learns humility and emotional openness. Conflict plays an important role in their dynamic. Bubblegum's decisions as ruler often clash with Finn's heroic impulses. Where Finn sees clear lines between good and evil, PB sees shades of grey, political necessity, and long-term strategy. Their arguments highlight the tension between youthful idealism and pragmatic governance. Yet rather than destroying their bond, these disagreements strengthen it. Finn learns that friendship does not require blind agreement, and Bubblegum learns that trust means allowing others to challenge her decisions. This balance of challenge and loyalty makes their friendship one of the most realistic in Adventure Time. The symbolism of their evolving bond reflects a larger theme of the series: the passage from childhood to adulthood. Finn's early crush represents youthful longing, the kind of pure but naive desire that often defines adolescence. His acceptance of PB as a friend reflects emotional maturity, the recognition that relationships cannot be forced into predetermined roles. In a world as strange and fractured as Oo, this growth mirrors the universal human experience of learning that love, friendship, and respect take many forms. Another striking aspect of their relationship is its resilience. Despite moments of tension, misunderstanding, and distance, Finn and Bubblegum always find their way back to trust. Their friendship is tested by jealousy, by conflicting duties, and even by existential threats, yet it never collapses. This resilience underscores the idea that true friendship is not fragile but adaptable. It can survive disappointment, change, and shifting priorities, because its foundation lies not in circumstance but in mutual respect. Finn and PB's bond also highlights the importance of boundaries in friendship. By letting go of his romantic pursuit, Finn creates space for a healthier connection. Bubblegum, in turn, respects that space by treating Finn more directly as a trusted companion. This evolution reflects a mature truth: that healthy friendships require boundaries, honesty, and a willingness to let relationships shift naturally. Adventure Time, through their story, teaches that clinging to an idealized version of a relationship only leads to pain, while acceptance opens the door to growth. The legacy of their friendship extends beyond the two of them. Their bond often serves as a stabilizing force for Oo itself. When Bubblegum faces threats to her kingdom, Finn stands by her side, not out of obligation, but out of genuine loyalty. When Finn grapples with loneliness or disillusionment, Bubblegum provides wisdom and reassurance. Their friendship, therefore, is not just personal but political. It strengthens the Candy Kingdom and, by extension, Oo's stability. For viewers, the arc of Finn and Bubblegum's relationship resonates deeply because it reflects common human experiences. Many people encounter the pain of unrequited feelings, the struggle of letting go, and the challenge of maintaining friendships across differences. Adventure Time portrays this process with honesty, humour, and tenderness, showing that while not every crush becomes romance, every connection has the potential to become something valuable. Finn's journey from longing to respect is one that mirrors the process of growing up itself. In the end, the meaning of Finn and Princess Bubblegum's friendship lies in its transformation. It begins as an idealized dream, passes through conflict and disappointment, and emerges as a mature, balanced bond grounded in trust. It teaches that friendship is not static, that it can evolve beyond expectations, and that its worth is not diminished when it does not follow the path one hopes for. Rather, its value lies in its authenticity, its resilience, and its ability to nurture growth in both people involved. Adventure Time frames their connection as proof that friendship is not the absence of desire, but the acceptance of reality. By letting go of what cannot be, Finn and Bubblegum create space for what truly matters: companionship, trust, and the shared work of protecting Oo. Their story, with all its ups and downs, becomes a testament to one of the show's deepest philosophies: that friendship is not always simple, not always easy, but always worth the effort of growing, letting go, and beginning again. Adventure Time is filled with relationships that reveal how connection in Oo transcends species, age, and even lifespans. One of the most surprising and rewarding examples of this is the friendship between Finn the human and Marceline the vampire queen. On the surface, they are an unlikely pair, a teenage human with boundless energy and a centuries-old vampire with a penchant for mischief and music. Yet their bond grows into something genuine, a friendship defined not by obligation, but by freedom, play, and mutual respect. Through Finn and Marceline, the show demonstrates that friendship does not always follow expected paths, and that sometimes the most enduring bonds emerge when people allow each other to be fully themselves. From their earliest interactions, Finn and Marceline's dynamic is playful. Marceline teases him, pushes his buttons, and challenges him in ways few others do. Unlike Princess Bubblegum, who often sees Finn through the lens of responsibility, or Jake, who tempers his impulsiveness, Marceline treats Finn as a peer. She doesn't coddle him, nor does she hold him at a distance. Instead, she dives headfirst into his world of adventure while inviting him into hers, a world of music, pranks, and late-night wandering. Their friendship is founded on fun, but beneath the teasing lies a mutual trust that makes their bond meaningful. What distinguishes Marceline and Finn's friendship is its emphasis on freedom. Marceline is one of the few characters who doesn't impose expectations on Finn. She doesn't need him to be a hero, a soldier, or a leader. She simply enjoys his company. In turn, Finn doesn't demand anything from Marceline other than her presence. This lack of pressure creates space for authenticity. With Marceline, Finn can laugh, experiment, and explore parts of himself that are not tied to duty. With Finn, Marceline can drop her guard and embrace her playful, youthful side, free from the loneliness and trauma that her long life often forces on her. Music plays a central role in their bond. Marceline's songs often carry her raw emotions, her fears, regrets, and memories. While Finn doesn't always understand the full depth of her history, he listens earnestly, offering companionship without judgment. Their jam sessions in the tree fort, or during quiet moments, reflect the intimacy of shared creativity. Music becomes their shared language, a way of expressing feelings that words might not fully capture. Through music, their friendship transcends age and experience, uniting them in the universal act of expression. Finn also brings something unique to Marceline's life: innocence. For someone who has lived through centuries of war, loss, and solitude, Marceline often hides her vulnerability behind sarcasm and bravado. Finn's sincerity cuts through that facade. He reminds her of the joy of simplicity, that even in a world scarred by destruction, there is still space for laughter, adventure, and connection. This innocence is not naivety, but a kind of hope that Marceline finds refreshing. Being around Finn allows her to reconnect with a side of herself that centuries of survival had dulled. Conversely, Marceline offers Finn a perspective that no one else can. Unlike Jake, who grounds Finn with comfort, or Bubblegum, who challenges him with responsibility, Marceline expands Finn's understanding of the world's complexity. Through her stories, songs, and outlook, she exposes him to the weight of history and the reality that not everything can be solved with a sword. She shows him that life is messy, that people carry scars, and that not all pain can be fixed, but that companionship makes it bearable. Marceline is not simply an older guide. She is a friend who treats Finn's perspective as valid, while also enriching it with her own. Their friendship is not without conflict. Marceline's teasing sometimes frustrates Finn, and her more reckless tendencies clash with his heroic instincts. Yet these conflicts never fracture their bond. Instead, they highlight the trust underlying their friendship. Finn knows Marceline's teasing is never cruel, and Marceline knows Finn's frustration is born of care. When push comes to shove, they stand by each other without hesitation. This resilience reveals the foundation of their friendship: honesty. They do not need to pretend or hold back, because their connection is strong enough to weather friction. Another key element of their bond is the absence of romantic tension. While Finn's relationship with Bubblegum is complicated by his crush, and his relationship with Flame Princess begins in romance, his connection with Marceline is purely platonic. This allows their friendship to flourish without the weight of expectation or disappointment. It models a rare kind of relationship in storytelling, a deep, meaningful, cross-gender friendship that is not defined by romance but by mutual care and joy. In this way, Adventure Time affirms that friendship itself is enough, powerful, complete, and worthy of focus. The symbolism of their bond lies in the blending of opposites. Finn represents youth, optimism, and humanity's resilience. Marceline embodies age, cynicism, and the supernatural strangeness of Ooh. Together, they reflect the philosophy that friendship bridges divides not by erasing differences, but by celebrating them. Finn does not need to become cynical to understand Marceline, nor does Marceline need to adopt Finn's optimism to enjoy his company. Their friendship thrives precisely because they remain themselves, showing that difference is not a barrier but a strength. Their adventures together often highlight this duality. Whether battling bizarre monsters, exploring haunted spaces, or simply hanging out, Finn and Marceline bring out contrasting but complementary energies. Finn charges in with youthful enthusiasm, while Marceline adds wit, cunning, and perspective. Their dynamic emphasizes that friendship is not about sameness, but about synergy, the way two distinct personalities can create something greater together. In the broader context of Ooh, their friendship also holds symbolic weight. Ooh is a world where beings of vastly different origins, humans, vampires, candy people, rainicorns, must coexist. Finn and Marceline's bond is a microcosm of this diversity. It demonstrates that companionship across boundaries of age, culture, and species is not only possible, but enriching. Their friendship models the philosophy that survival in Ooh depends not just on alliances of convenience, but on genuine bonds of affection. As the series progresses, Finn and Marceline's friendship matures without losing its core of freedom and fun. Finn grows older, facing heartbreak and existential questions, and Marceline remains a constant presence who can both comfort him and remind him not to lose his joy. Marceline continues to wrestle with her past, but Finn's companionship provides her with grounding, proof that she does not have to face eternity alone. Their bond does not need to change into something dramatic. Its quiet consistency is its greatest strength. The legacy of their friendship lies in its authenticity. It is not born of duty, romance, or necessity, but of simple choice. They enjoy each other's company, and that enjoyment deepens into trust, respect, and love, not romantic love, but the love of friendship that endures. In a show where many relationships are fraught with tension, betrayal, or complexity, Finn and Marceline's bond feels refreshing in its stability. It reminds viewers that friendship can be enough, that joy and freedom shared between two people is a treasure worth protecting. Ultimately, Finn and Marceline's friendship reveals a central truth about Adventure Time, that bonds are not always defined by labels or roles. Sometimes, the most meaningful friendships emerge from unexpected places, built not on obligation, but on the simple freedom of being together. Finn and Marceline may come from different worlds, but in each other's company, they find laughter, music, and acceptance. In U, where chaos and uncertainty are constant, that kind of freedom is more than friendship. It is survival, hope, and joy. If Finn and Jake are the adventurers who drive the action of Adventure Time, and characters like Princess Bubblegum and Marceline provide its drama and depth, then BMO is the soul of innocence at the centre of U. At first glance, BMO seems like a comic relief sidekick, a living video game console with a quirky personality and an endless supply of childlike wonder. But beneath the humour lies something profound. BMO represents the philosophy that companionship does not always need to be complicated, heavy, or pragmatic. Sometimes, friendship is valuable simply because it brings joy, simplicity, and warmth into a chaotic world. BMO's relationship with Finn and Jake is the clearest example of this philosophy. Living in the tree fort, BMO is more than a roommate or gadget. BMO is family. For Finn and Jake, who both wrestle with responsibility, identity, and existential questions, BMO provides an anchor of light-hearted companionship. When Finn faces heartbreak or Jake is weighed down by the burdens of adulthood, BMO's cheerful antics remind them that life can still be fun. Unlike other relationships, which often involve tension or growth through conflict, BMO's bond with Finn and Jake thrives on play and affection. This simplicity is not shallow. It is a survival tool, showing that laughter and innocence are as important as strength and wisdom in keeping hope alive. The philosophy of innocent companionship is especially important in a world like U, where destruction and danger lurk behind every corner. BMO rarely fights battles or makes grand speeches, but BMO contributes something equally vital: emotional balance. When the tree fort feels heavy with worry, BMO lifts the mood. When Finn and Jake get caught up in quests or conflicts, BMO's games and stories provide a reminder of why life is worth fighting for in the first place. Through this, Adventure Time suggests that friendship is not only about loyalty in battle, but also about creating spaces of joy and safety. BMO's innocence also reveals how friendship can transcend categories. Is BMO a child, a sibling, or a parent-like figure? The answer is all of the above, depending on the moment. Sometimes Finn and Jake treat BMO like a little sibling, humouring the games and fantasies. Other times, BMO's odd wisdom makes BMO seem like the caretaker, offering advice in an unexpectedly mature way. This fluidity is part of what makes BMO's companionship so powerful. BMO doesn't need to fit into one role. Instead, BMO adapts, reflecting the needs of those around them. In this way, Adventure Time portrays friendship as flexible, a relationship that can shift roles without losing its core of love. Another striking feature of BMO's companionship is the role of imagination. BMO creates elaborate stories, plays pretend games, and talks to imaginary friends as if they were real. To outsiders, these moments may seem silly, but to Finn and Jake, they become shared adventures. By joining in BMO's games, they validate the importance of imagination and play as tools of connection. This is particularly meaningful for Finn, who often struggles with heavy emotions. Through BMO, he learns that it is okay to retreat into play, not as an escape, but as a way of processing and healing. Friendship, through BMO's lens, is about creating shared worlds of joy, no matter how fantastical. Despite this innocence, BMO is not ignorant. Adventure Time is careful to show that BMO is aware of the dangers and sadness of U. BMO has moments of loneliness, insecurity, and even philosophical reflection. What makes BMO unique is the choice to respond with optimism. Rather than being crushed by despair, BMO consistently turns toward joy and companionship. This decision reflects a powerful truth. Innocence is not the absence of knowledge, but the refusal to let knowledge erase wonder. In this way, Bimo embodies a philosophy of Toad, resilience that is as vital to survival as Finn's sword or Bubblegum's science. Bimo's friendships extend beyond Finn and Jake as well. With characters like Nepta, Bubble, or even characters met in passing, Bimo shows the same openness and kindness. Unlike others in Oo, who may judge based on species, power, or status, Bimo approaches everyone with curiosity and affection. This inclusivity demonstrates how friendship can be expansive, a force that does not discriminate but welcomes. Bimo models the philosophy that companionship is not scarce but abundant, that the more friends you welcome, the richer life becomes. The symbolism of Bimo's role is particularly poignant in a world scarred by the Mushroom War. Oo is a landscape born of destruction, filled with ruins and reminders of humanity's mistakes. Bimo, as a piece of old-world technology brought to life, could have been a symbol of that destruction. Instead, Bimo becomes a symbol of survival through play, innocence, and connection. Where others see ruins, Bimo sees playgrounds. Where others feel loss, Bimo creates joy. In this way, Bimo reclaims the remnants of the old world, turning them into tools of companionship. Bimo also embodies the idea that friendship is not about utility. In many narratives, companions are valued for their power or skills, the warrior, the strategist, the healer. Bimo, while capable of surprising feats, is primarily valuable because of emotional presence. Bimo doesn't need to slay monsters or rule kingdoms to matter. The philosophy here is clear. Friendship is not transactional. True companionship does not ask, "What can you do for me?" but instead says, "I value you because you bring joy to my life." Bimo proves that even in a world of epic battles, the simple act of being present can be heroic in its own way. For Finn, Bimo's companionship is especially transformative. Growing up as the only known human, Finn often feels the weight of loneliness. Jake provides brotherly love, but Bimo offers something different: unconditional acceptance without expectation. Bimo doesn't see Finn as the last human or the hero of Oo. To Bimo, he is just Finn, a friend to play games with, to laugh with, to share stories with. This unconditional companionship gives Finn a sense of belonging that no quest or romantic relationship fully provides. In Bimo, Finn finds the freedom to simply exist, not as a symbol, but as a person. For Jake, Bimo provides balance as well. Jake, who often prefers comfort and relaxation, sometimes risks disengaging from the world. Bimo's endless imagination pulls him back in, reminding him that joy requires participation. Their games and antics help Jake maintain his own sense of wonder, even as he takes on the responsibilities of adulthood and fatherhood. In this way, Bimo sustains not only Finn's innocence, but also Jake's joy, ensuring that the tree fort remains a home filled with laughter. The legacy of Bimo's companionship is profound. In the grand scheme of Oo's battles, Bimo might not always be the one delivering the final blow or crafting the grand strategy. Yet, when the dust settles, it is Bimo's presence that reminds everyone what they are fighting for. Friendship, as shown through Bimo, is not always about sacrifice or struggle. It is about the daily choice to bring joy into each other's lives. That joy becomes its own kind of resistance against despair. Ultimately, Bimo's philosophy of friendship is this: companionship matters not because it solves every problem, but because it makes life worth living despite the problems. Innocence is not weakness, but strength, because it insists on hope in the face of chaos. Adventure Time uses BMO to remind viewers that friendship does not always have to be grand or complicated. Sometimes, the purest form of love is the simple act of playing together, of choosing joy, of being present. In a fractured world like Ooh, that philosophy is not just sweet, it is essential. Among all the characters in Adventure Time, few embody the philosophy of quiet but enduring friendship as strongly as Lady Rainicorn. She does not dominate screen time, nor does she frequently deliver grand speeches. She is not a central hero in the battles of Ooh, yet her presence carries weight far beyond her appearances. Lady Rainicorn represents a kind of friendship that transcends words, one rooted in loyalty, love, and the ability to connect across difference. In a show that often thrives on dialogue, Lady Rainicorn proves that companionship is just as powerful in silence. The first striking thing about Lady Rainicorn is her language. Speaking only in Korean throughout the series, she immediately sets herself apart from the main cast. For many viewers, her words are incomprehensible, but her tone, gestures, and actions make her meaning clear. This creates a unique experience. For some, she is a mystery. For others who understand Korean, she is witty and expressive. Yet in both cases, the message is the same. Friendship is not limited by shared language. Finn, Jake, and Princess Bubblegum may not always understand her words, but they always understand her loyalty. This is the foundation of her philosophy. Connection transcends barriers. Lady Rainicorn's closest bonds highlight this truth. With Princess Bubblegum, she shares a deep, long-standing friendship that predates most of the events we see. Their companionship is so natural and constant that it rarely requires explanation. Lady Rainicorn stands beside PB in times of crisis, offering unwavering support, while PB's other relationships are often tested by mistrust or conflict. Her bond with Lady Rainicorn is steady. It reveals that true friendship is not always dramatic or complicated sometimes. It is simply being present again and again without hesitation. Her relationship with Jake, however, is where Lady Rainicorn's philosophy of loyalty shines most clearly. Though their romance is central, their bond extends into friendship in its purest form. They play together, tease each other, and face challenges as equals. Their connection demonstrates that friendship is the root of lasting love. Lady Rainicorn does not try to change Jake, nor does she resist his playful, laid-back nature. Instead, she accepts him completely, even when their cultures clash. This acceptance reflects the philosophy that friendship thrives not when differences are erased, but when they are embraced. Their children further emphasize this theme. Born from two species once divided by conflict, the Rainicorn dog offspring are living proof that bonds across divides can heal old wounds. Lady Rainicorn's decision to build a family with Jake is not just a personal choice, but a symbolic act of reconciliation. Through her children, the past's divisions give way to a future defined by unity. Here, friendship becomes legacy, a reminder that bonds formed in love and loyalty can transform even the deepest histories of mistrust. Lady Rainicorn's role in battles and crises is another aspect of her quiet strength. She may not be the first to leap into combat, but when Ooh faces threats, whether from vampires, rival kingdoms, or cosmic forces, she is there. Her combat abilities, from phasing through matter to stretching her body across impossible distances, make her an invaluable ally. Yet what matters more than her powers is her willingness to use them when her friends need her. She does not seek recognition or glory, she simply shows up. This constancy reinforces her philosophy. Loyalty is measured not by words or promises, but by actions. The symbolism of Lady Rainicorn's form underscores her role as a bridge between worlds. As a rainbow-coloured being with a serpentine body, she literally stretches across distances, connecting spaces and carrying others from one place to another. This physical trait mirrors her thematic role. She bridges cultures, families, and even dimensions. Just as she ferries Finn and Jake across Ooo, she also bridges divides between species and histories. Her body becomes a metaphor for friendship itself, flexible, colourful, and expansive, able to connect where there once were gaps. Her use of Korean also carries symbolic weight. By never abandoning her language, Lady Rainicorn affirms cultural pride and identity. Yet her friendships thrive despite the barrier. This duality reflects Adventure Time's ethos. Ooo is a place of many voices, some easily understood, others requiring patience and openness. Friendship does not demand uniformity, it demands respect. Lady Rainicorn embodies this philosophy by being unapologetically herself while still building bonds of love and loyalty. In the context of Oo's larger themes, Lady Rainicorn's companionship reveals the importance of quiet, consistent presence. Many friendships in the show are turbulent, full of conflict, reconciliation, and dramatic turning points. Lady Rainicorn's friendships, by contrast, are steady. She may not be in every scene, but when she appears, her role is clear. She is the dependable friend, the loyal partner, the bridge across divides. Her philosophy suggests that not all friendships need grand gestures to matter. Sometimes, what makes a bond powerful is its quiet endurance. For Finn, Lady Rainicorn represents acceptance beyond understanding. Though he rarely grasps her words, he never doubts her care. This teaches an important lesson. Friendship does not require complete comprehension, only trust. In a fractured world where many beings are alien to one another, Lady Rainicorn shows that bonds can flourish even without perfect communication. What matters is the willingness to listen, to trust, and to remain loyal. For Jake, her companionship is transformative. His laid-back lifestyle might have led him to drift through life, but Lady Rainicorn grounds him. Their partnership challenges him to grow, to embrace responsibility, and to balance freedom with commitment. Yet, crucially, she does this without pressure or control. Her loyalty creates a space where Jake can choose growth freely, without fear of rejection. This balance reflects the healthiest kind of friendship, one that accepts but also inspires. The legacy of Lady Rainicorn's companionship is profound. By the end of Adventure Time, she remains steadfast, alive, with her family, her friendships intact. In a show where many characters face loss, transformation, or existential crisis, Lady Rainicorn endures. Her survival and stability symbolize the power of quiet loyalty. While others grapple with identity, change, and mortality, Lady Rainicorn reminds us that sometimes the greatest achievement is simply being there for your family, your friends, and your world. Ultimately, Lady Rainicorn teaches that friendship is not defined by constant words, dramatic reconciliations, or flashy gestures. It is defined by loyalty without condition, by the willingness to stand by others across difference and across time. Her rainbow body, stretching across Ooo, reflects the essence of her philosophy. That friendship is a bridge, built not of sameness, but of love. In the chaos of Ooo, Lady Rainicorn shows that the quietest companions can carry the greatest meaning. In Adventure Time, friendship is often shown as the force that gives meaning to life in Ooo. Yet the absence of friendship can be just as powerful a theme. No character embodies this more than the Ice King. At first glance, he seems like nothing more than a comical villain, a bumbling sorcerer obsessed with kidnapping princesses. But as the story unfolds, his character is revealed to be far deeper and infinitely more tragic. The Ice King's endless search for companionship and his constant failures to achieve it reflect the devastating consequences of loneliness. At the same time, his journey shows that even the most broken figures can find connection when others look past their flaws. From the start, Ice King's behavior makes him a figure of ridicule. His repeated schemes to capture princesses are not motivated by malice, but by desperation. He is lonely, and in his misguided way, he believes that forcing someone into his castle will solve that emptiness. These attempts, of course, always end in disaster, driving others further away. His need for friendship is so overwhelming that it manifests as obsession, but beneath it lies something achingly human, the fear of being alone. The tragedy of the Ice King is tied to his history as Simon Petrikov. Long before he wore the crown that warped his mind, Simon was a kind, brilliant man who loved and protected those around him. His relationship with Marceline in her childhood shows the depth of his compassion. But the magical crown, while granting him power, stripped him of his identity, his memories, and his connections. What remains is a shell of Simon, a man who still craves friendship but no longer understands how to form it. His loneliness is not just personal but cosmic, a consequence of being severed from his own past. Despite his flaws, Ice King's need for friends is genuine. Again and again, he attempts to insert himself into the lives of Finn, Jake, Marceline, and others. Though his methods are misguided, the root desire is simple. He wants to belong. There are moments when his sincerity breaks through the madness, when he drops the antics and reveals that beneath the crown's corruption is a person desperate for connection. These glimpses remind us that loneliness is not a joke but a wound, and that Ice King's tragedy is that he remembers enough of friendship to know he misses it, but not enough to fully reclaim it. Finn and Jake's relationship with Ice King captures the complexity of this tragedy. On the one hand, they often see him as an enemy, someone they must stop from causing chaos. On the other hand, they recognize his pitiful loneliness and occasionally show him kindness. Finn, especially, struggles to reconcile his role as a hero with his empathy for Ice King. Their interactions reflect a deeper truth. Sometimes, the people who seem most irritating or destructive are acting out of pain. Friendship in Oo, as shown through Finn and Jake's dealings with Ice King, requires the courage to see past the surface. Marceline's bond with Ice King is perhaps the most poignant illustration of this. For Marceline, Simon is not a nuisance or a villain. He is family. She remembers the man he was before the crown consumed him, and her love for him never disappears. This connection is heartbreaking, because Ice King cannot fully remember her in return. Marceline sings songs of their past, filled with longing for the father figure she lost, while Ice King struggles to grasp the meaning. Their friendship is a one-way bridge much of the time, but its existence proves that even in his fractured state, Ice King is not entirely alone. Through Marceline, he retains a thread of belonging, however fragile. The symbolism of Ice King's loneliness resonates with the broader themes of Adventure Time. Oo is a world scarred by destruction, where countless beings struggle with isolation in one form or another. Ice King represents the extreme of this condition, a man so consumed by loneliness that it twists his every action. Yet he also represents the possibility of redemption. His yearning for companionship, however flawed, shows that even in the most broken state, the human need for connection never disappears. Ice King's transformation back into Simon during the finale emphasizes this philosophy. When freed from the crown, Simon returns as himself, vulnerable, confused, and still haunted by loss. He no longer has the powers that made him feared, but he also no longer carries the madness that isolated him. What remains is a man who must learn again how to form friendships in a world that has moved on without him. His story suggests that healing from loneliness is possible, but it requires patience, forgiveness, and the willingness of others to see the person beneath the scars. The tragedy of Ice King also serves as a warning about the dangers of isolation. Without friends, his behavior becomes erratic, obsessive, and harmful. His loneliness spirals into destructive patterns that push others away, creating a cycle that reinforces itself. This cycle mirrors real experiences of isolation, where the more one craves connection, the harder it becomes to achieve. Adventure Time does not shy away from this reality, showing that friendship, while healing, is not always easy to regain once it has been lost. Yet Ice King's story is not without hope. Over time, he does form genuine, if fragile, connections. Finn and Jake grow to see him as more than just a nuisance, occasionally including him in their adventures. Marceline's loyalty never wavers, and through her, he glimpses the possibility of being loved. Even Bimo, with their openness to everyone, treats Ice King with a kind of innocence that softens his loneliness. These moments, though small, matter. They show that even someone as broken as Ice King is not beyond friendship. The legacy of Ice King's companionship lies in what he teaches others. To Finn, he is a reminder that not all enemies are evil. Some are simply lonely. To Marceline, he is proof that love endures, even when memory fades. To viewers, he is a mirror of the human fear of isolation, and a testament to the resilience of the desire for connection. His story transforms from one of comic absurdity to one of profound sadness and eventual redemption. In the end, Ice King's philosophy of friendship is defined by absence. He shows us what life without true companionship looks like. Yet even in his darkest moments, his yearning reveals the power of that connection. The tragedy of loneliness is that it distorts, isolates, and consumes. But the triumph of Adventure Time is that it never allows loneliness to have the final word. Ice King, broken and misguided as he may be, is still loved by Marceline, by glimpses of kindness from Finn and Jake, and by the audience who comes to understand him. Through Ice King, Adventure Time reminds us that friendship is not just a luxury, but a necessity, and that to be without it is to lose oneself. His story is a tragedy, yes, but also a call to empathy, to look beyond flaws, to see the loneliness beneath, and to remember that everyone, no matter how lost, is searching for connection. Adventure Time does not shy away from the complexities of relationships. It shows that love can be exhilarating, but also painful, that friendships can fracture, and that bonds can survive even after disappointment. Nowhere is this more evident than in the story of Finn the Human and Flame Princess. Their relationship begins as romance, burns with intensity, collapses under the weight of mistakes, and eventually reforms into something quieter but just as meaningful: friendship. Their journey reveals one of Adventure Time's most mature philosophies, that the end of romance does not have to mean the end of connection, and that friendship after love can be just as valuable as love itself. From the moment Finn first meets Flame Princess, he is captivated. After letting go of his crush on Princess Bubblegum, Flame Princess feels like a fresh beginning. She is fiery in every sense, passionate, unpredictable, and powerful. For Finn, who thrives on adventure and intensity, her energy is magnetic. Their early relationship is filled with excitement and discovery. For once, Finn is not chasing an impossible dream. He is living in the reality of reciprocated affection. Flame Princess, who has long struggled with isolation due to her destructive nature, also finds something new in Finn: acceptance. He does not fear her flames, but embraces her for who she is. Yet even at its strongest, their romance carries challenges. Flame Princess comes from a world of fire, chaos, and royal politics. Her upbringing in the Fire Kingdom leaves her wary of trust, and her temper sometimes ignites conflicts with Finn's idealism. Meanwhile, Finn's youth and inexperience make it difficult for him to navigate the responsibilities of a serious relationship. Where Jake and Lady Rainicorn's love is steady and grounded, Finn and Flame Princess's bond is volatile, driven by passion but fragile under pressure. The turning point comes when Finn betrays her trust, meddling in her battles for his own sense of adventure, and causing harm in the process. This betrayal fractures their romance, leaving both hurt and disillusioned. For Flame Princess, it confirms her fear that others see her not as a person, but as a spectacle. For Finn, it becomes a painful lesson in the consequences of immaturity and selfishness. Their breakup is not just the end of a romance, it is the shattering of a bond they both thought could withstand the chaos of their worlds. What makes their story remarkable, however, is what happens afterward. Adventure Time does not discard Flame Princess as a love interest once the romance ends. Instead, it allows her and Finn to rebuild their connection on new terms. Their interactions after the breakup are tentative at first, marked by awkwardness, hesitation, and the lingering sting of betrayal. Yet gradually, they find a new rhythm. They learn to laugh together again, to share adventures without the burden of romance, and to trust in a different kind of bond. This rebuilding is slow, but it reflects the show's commitment to portraying relationships realistically. Friendship after love is never easy. It requires honesty, humility, and forgiveness. For Finn, this means acknowledging his mistakes and treating Flame Princess with respect, not as someone to win back, but as someone to support. For Flame Princess, it means allowing Finn back into her life without letting past wounds dictate the future. Their eventual companionship demonstrates that forgiveness is possible without forgetting, and that friendship can emerge from the ashes of failed love. This transformation also allows both characters to grow individually. Flame Princess becomes more confident as a ruler, finding her voice and authority in the Fire Kingdom. Free from the instability of their romance, she carves her own path, proving she is more than just a love interest. Finn, meanwhile, matures in how he approaches relationships altogether. His bond with Flame Princess teaches him that true connection requires respect, boundaries, and patience. Their friendship, after love, becomes a stepping stone in his journey toward emotional maturity. Symbolically, their relationship mirrors the nature of fire itself. Fire can be destructive, consuming everything in its path, but it can also provide warmth, light, and renewal. Finn and Flame Princess's romance burns too brightly to last, but from its ashes arises something steadier, the warmth of friendship. Their story suggests that endings are not always final. They can also be beginnings in disguise. The fire that once consumed their relationship becomes the spark that lights a new kind of bond. The philosophy of their friendship also emphasizes the importance of letting go. Finn learns that clinging to what once was only causes harm. By releasing his desire to rekindle the romance, he opens the door to a healthier connection. Flame Princess learns that holding on to anger prevents healing. By letting go of bitterness, she allows space for new trust to grow. Together, they show that letting go is not about forgetting, but about choosing to move forward. Their bond also reflects the broader theme of reconciliation in U. Just as kingdoms divided by war can find peace, and estranged friends like Bubblegum and Marceline can reconnect, Finn and Flame Princess demonstrate that broken relationships can transform rather than vanish. This theme resonates deeply in a world where survival depends on unity. Their friendship becomes a microcosm of U's larger philosophy, that healing, though difficult, is always possible. For viewers, their story holds a valuable lesson. Many people experience the pain of relationships that do not last, the sting of betrayal, and the awkwardness of trying to remain friends afterward. Adventure Time portrays this process with honesty, showing that it is messy, imperfect, and gradual. Yet it also affirms that the effort is worth it. Friendship after love may not look the same as romance, but it carries its own beauty and strength. By the end of Adventure Time, Finn and Flame Princess share a camaraderie that feels genuine and earned. They are no longer weighed down by the expectations of romance, but are free to enjoy each other's company as friends. Their journey from love to heartbreak to friendship reflects one of the show's deepest truths, that relationships are not static, and that even painful endings can give rise to meaningful new beginnings. Ultimately, the story of Finn and Flame Princess reveals that friendship is not the consolation prize after love fails. It is a victory in itself. Their bond, though changed, endures. It teaches that love and friendship are not mutually exclusive, but can transform into one another when nurtured with care. In the chaos of U, where kingdoms rise and fall, their companionship reminds us that even burnt bridges can be rebuilt, and that sometimes the strongest friendships are the ones that rise from the ashes of love. In the world of Adventure Time, many friendships are defined by loyalty, reconciliation, or growth. But not all bonds are noble, steady, or transformative in the traditional sense. Some are messy, frustrating, and hilariously dysfunctional, yet no less important. Few characters embody this philosophy better than Lumpy Space Princess, or LSP. Loud, self-centered, and perpetually dramatic, LSP often seems like the least reliable friend in U. Yet her presence reveals something vital about the nature of companionship, that friendship does not require perfection. Imperfect bonds, full of flaws and humour, can still bring value, joy, and meaning. From her very first appearances, LSP stands out as a chaotic force. Her personality is brash, her voice exaggerated, and her sense of self-importance unmatched. She frequently insults her friends, makes poor decisions, and stumbles from one misadventure to the next. On the surface, she seems like a parody of the bad friend, someone who takes more than she gives. Yet despite all of this, Finn and Jake continue to include her in their adventures, tolerate her outbursts, and even show her genuine affection. This raises an important question: why? The answer lies in the philosophy that friendship is not about perfection, but about acceptance. LSP's flaws are undeniable, but they are also what make her human, or rather, lumpen. She is insecure, often masking her loneliness with bravado. Beneath her arrogance lies a desperate desire to be included and loved. Her constant proclamations about being fabulous or superior are, in truth, shields against feelings of inadequacy. This vulnerability, though rarely admitted outright, explains why Finn and Jake do not abandon her. They see past her bluster to the friend who, deep down, wants to belong. The humour of LSP's friendships stems from this tension between her self-centered behaviour and her genuine need for connection. She will loudly complain about inconveniences, only to throw herself wholeheartedly into an adventure moments later. She will declare herself the star of every story, even as her actions reveal her dependence on others. This contradiction is what makes her so entertaining, but also what makes her friendships meaningful. Adventure Time uses LSP to show that friendship is often messy, filled with frustration and laughter in equal measure. Finn's relationship with LSP highlights this dynamic. As the embodiment of heroism and compassion, Finn often bears the brunt of LSP's antics. She tests his patience, drags him into unnecessary drama, and rarely shows gratitude. Yet Finn rarely rejects her outright. Instead, he accepts her flaws as part of who she island fancy. For Finn, friendship is about consistency, not convenience. His willingness to remain her friend despite her imperfections demonstrates one of Adventure Time's core messages, that true companionship is not conditional. Jake, by contrast, often finds humour in LSP's behaviour. His laid-back personality makes him less prone to frustration, and he sometimes encourages her ridiculousness for amusement. Through Jake, we see another aspect of friendship with flawed companions. Sometimes you embrace the chaos and enjoy it. His interactions with LSP highlight the joy that can be found in imperfection, that laughter itself is a form of bonding. LSP's relationship with other characters further develops this theme. With Princess Bubblegum, she embodies rivalry and insecurity. LSP envies PB's composure, intelligence, and authority, often trying to assert herself in contrast. These moments reveal that jealousy can strain friendships, but they also show that such tensions are part of the complexity of human connection. With Marceline, LSP sometimes finds common ground in rebellion and mischief, showing that even the most unlikely pairs can share moments of camaraderie. These interactions reinforce the idea that imperfect friendships are still real friendships, defined by moments of connection amidst conflict. The symbolism of LSP's lumpiness also plays into her role in Oo's web of companionship. She is literally uneven, bumpy, and awkward, a physical representation of imperfection, yet she embraces her form with pride, insisting that she is glamorous and desirable. This self-assertion, though exaggerated, carries an important message. Imperfection does not negate worth. Similarly, imperfect friendships are still valuable. Just as LSP's lumps are part of her identity, the flaws in her relationships are part of what make them authentic. Another layer of LSP's role in the philosophy of friendship is how she illustrates boundaries. While Finn and Jake accept her flaws, there are moments when they push back, refusing to indulge her more destructive behaviour. These boundaries prevent the friendship from becoming harmful, showing that acceptance does not mean enabling. Adventure Time is careful to portray friendship with flawed companions as a balance. It requires patience and humour, but it also requires limits. This balance makes the relationship sustainable. Despite her flaws, LSP has moments of surprising sincerity. In rare glimpses, she reveals her loneliness, her fear of being forgotten, or her gratitude for those who stand by her. These moments are fleeting, but they are powerful because they show that beneath the bravado lies genuine affection. When LSP does show care, it carries weight precisely because it is rare. These glimpses remind viewers that even the most difficult friends can hold deep love, even if they struggle to express it consistently. In the broader context of Oo, LSP's friendships highlight the inclusivity of the world's philosophy of companionship. U is filled with beings of all shapes, personalities, and flaws. LSP, with her chaotic personality, fits into this world not because she is perfect, but because U's network of friendships allows space for imperfection. Her place among Finn, Jake, and the others demonstrates that friendship is not about earning worthiness through flawless behavior, but about being accepted as you are. The legacy of LSP's companionship is not one of heroic sacrifice or profound reconciliation. Instead, it is one of humour, chaos, and flawed but enduring presence. Her friendships remind us that not all bonds are ideal, but they still matter. They bring laughter, they challenge patience, and they reflect the messy reality of human connection. In many ways, LSP's friendships are some of the most realistic in Adventure Time, because they acknowledge that not every friend will always be supportive, reliable, or easy to love, but that doesn't make them less of a friend. Ultimately, Lumpy Space Princess teaches us that friendship is not about perfection, but about acceptance. Her flaws are many, her chaos endless, but she is still loved. Her companions may roll their eyes, sigh in frustration, or laugh at her antics, but they never truly abandon her. And in those rare, sincere moments when her walls drop and her affection shines through, the value of her companionship becomes undeniable. In U, where the meaning of friendship takes many forms, LSP reminds us that imperfection itself can be a source of humour, connection, and love. Adventure Time thrives on extremes, epic battles, cosmic entities, and profound philosophies. Yet some of the most memorable friendships in U come not from the central heroes or dramatic arcs, but from the strange, eccentric characters who bring quirks, humour, and oddity into the web of companionship. Tree Trunks, the gentle and romantic elephant, and Lemon Grab, the volatile, screaming lemon man, stand at opposite ends of the spectrum of personality. One embodies sweetness and warmth, the other embodies discomfort and chaos. Yet both reveal a deeper truth about friendship in U, that companionship does not require conformity. Quirky, difficult, or unconventional figures still find connection, reminding us that friendship's strength lies in inclusivity. Tree Trunks is one of U's most unusual companions. A tiny elephant with a soft voice and a love for apple pies, she hardly seems like the kind of adventurer who could keep up with Finn and Jake. Yet, she joins them willingly, venturing into dangers far beyond what anyone expects of her. At first, her role seems comedic, a frail, elderly elephant fumbling through battles. But her presence carries deeper meaning. Tree Trunks represents the philosophy that friendship values more than strength. What she brings is not combat skill, but kindness, joy, and surprising resilience. Her bond with Finn and Jake demonstrates this. They are often exasperated by her quirks, her romantic daydreams, her obliviousness to danger, her tendency to wander off. Yet they never abandon her. They protect her, tease her affectionately, and share genuine care for her well-being. In return, Tree Trunks offers them unconditional affection. She praises their bravery, believes in their goodness, and welcomes them into her life. Her companionship shows that friendship is not measured by usefulness in battle, but by warmth and loyalty. Tree Trunks also embodies the idea that every friend contributes in unexpected ways. Despite her fragile appearance, she has moments of surprising boldness, standing up to dangers or speaking with disarming honesty. Her apple pies, symbolic of her nurturing nature, become more than food. They are gifts of love, tokens of her care for others. In a world where survival often depends on swords and spells, Tree Trunks reminds us that kindness and hospitality are just as vital. Her romantic escapades, from her many marriages to her whimsical notions of love, also highlight another truth, that friendship includes accepting eccentricity. Finn and Jake often roll their eyes at her dramatic declarations, but they never judge her for them. Her quirks become part of the group dynamic, adding humour and unpredictability. Through Tree Trunks, Adventure Time affirms that companionship means embracing people as they are, quirks and all. If Tree Trunks embodies warmth, Lemongrab embodies unease. Created by Princess Bubblegum as a ruler, Lemongrab is a figure of perpetual discomfort. His shrill voice, explosive temper, and inability to connect socially make him difficult to be around. Yet, despite his flaws, Lemongrab is not portrayed as purely villainous. He is a lonely figure, desperate for companionship, but unable to sustain it. His repeated cries of "unacceptable" become both comic and tragic, reflecting his struggle to belong in a world that finds him intolerable. Lemongrab's relationship with others, particularly PB, reveals this tension. As his creator, she sees his flaws, but also bears responsibility for his existence. She offers him guidance and care, even when his behavior makes it difficult. This reflects the philosophy that friendship sometimes requires persistence, even when bonds are strained. Lemongrab cannot easily return affection, but the attempts of others to reach him highlight the value of compassion toward those who struggle with connection. His rare moments of vulnerability show his desire for companionship. Despite his volatility, he longs for acceptance. When given even small gestures of kindness, he softens, if only briefly. These glimpses reveal that beneath his eccentricity lies a familiar truth. Everyone, no matter how strange, desires to belong. Lemongrab's friendships are difficult, but they emphasize the importance of patience and empathy, even when relationships are not easy. Together, Tree Trunks and Lemongrab illustrate the philosophy of quirky companionship. One is lovable and sweet but odd, the other is abrasive and unsettling. Both, however, are included in Oo's web of friendship. Finn, Jake, and others may not always enjoy their quirks, but they make space for them. This inclusivity shows that companionship in Oo is not limited to the heroic or the easy to love. It encompasses the full spectrum of personalities, from the comforting to the challenging. Humour plays a central role in these friendships. Tree Trunk's eccentric romantic notions and Lemongrab's over-the-top tantrums often create laughter, even amidst serious plots. This humour is not cruel but affectionate, showing that part of friendship is finding joy in each other's oddities. By allowing these quirky figures to remain part of the group, Adventure Time argues that laughter itself is a form of connection, a way of turning frustration or strangeness into shared memory. The symbolism of these characters reinforces this philosophy. Tree Trunks, small and gentle, represents the overlooked power of kindness. Lemongrab, loud and abrasive, represents the challenge of embracing those who don't fit easily into social norms. Together, they reflect the diversity of friendship. It is not always smooth or simple, but it is enriched by variety. Oo's survival depends not only on strong warriors and wise rulers, but also on the odd, the eccentric, and the flawed. Tree Trunks and Lemongrab leave very different legacies, yet both highlight the endurance of companionship in Oo. Tree Trunks, with her pies, romances, and gentle heart, shows that kindness is timeless, and that even the smallest figures can leave lasting joy. Lemongrab, with his chaos and loneliness, reminds us that patience and empathy are necessary, even when friendship feels impossible. Both legacies affirm that no one is beyond the reach of connection, even if that connection looks different from the ideal. Ultimately, Tree Trunks and Lemongrab demonstrate that friendship is not about perfection, ease, or even comfort. It is about inclusivity, making space for the sweet, the difficult, and the eccentric. Their quirks become part of Ooze fabric, enriching the world with humour, patience, and unexpected lessons. In the grand philosophy of Adventure Time, even the strangest companions matter, because companionship itself is what gives life meaning. Friendship in Oo is rarely simple. Adventure Time does not present companionship as an easy or unshakable constant, but as something that must endure challenges, mistakes, and the pain of betrayal. Just as much as love and loyalty define relationships in the series, so too do moments of conflict, mistrust, and disappointment. Yet what makes these friendships meaningful is not that they avoid hardship, but that they survive it. By exploring the trials of friendship, Adventure Time reveals that the true strength of bonds lies in their ability to recover, to forgive, and to grow deeper through adversity. Finn's journey provides some of the clearest examples of how friendship can falter and heal. His relationship with Flame Princess begins in passion but unravels when he betrays her trust by meddling in her battles for his own thrill of adventure. This mistake severs their romance and strains their bond, leaving both hurt and disillusioned. Yet over time, they manage to rebuild a connection, shifting from lovers to friends. Their story demonstrates that friendship is not always linear. Bonds can fracture under the weight of poor choices, but forgiveness allows them to reform into something new. Finn learns humility through this process, realizing that companionship requires respect and honesty, not selfishness. Flame Princess, in turn, learns that even betrayal does not erase the possibility of reconciliation. Another example lies in Finn's evolving bond with Princess Bubblegum. Their relationship is often strained by her decisions as ruler, which clash with Finn's heroic idealism. At times, Finn questions her morality, while Bubblegum doubts his maturity. These conflicts reflect the tension between youthful passion and pragmatic responsibility. Yet despite the friction, their friendship survives. They argue, they challenge each other, and sometimes they wound one another with words or choices, but neither walks away. Instead, they adapt, learning to respect the other's perspective even when it differs from their own. Their ability to remain friends, despite repeated clashes, highlights one of Adventure Time's central philosophies. Friendship is not the absence of conflict, but the commitment to continue even when conflict arises. Jake, too, is not immune to the trials of friendship. His laid-back nature sometimes leads him to let Finn down, either by avoiding responsibility or by prioritizing comfort over duty. At times, this frustrates Finn, who relies on Jake as a partner in adventure. Yet Jake's loyalty always shines through when it truly matters. He may disappoint in small ways, but when the stakes are high, he is steadfast. This dynamic illustrates the reality that even the closest friends fail each other sometimes. What matters is not perfection, but the willingness to return, to show up when it counts, and to apologize when needed. Princess Bubblegum's friendships are especially complicated by her role as ruler. Her instinct to control and manipulate for the sake of her kingdom often puts her at odds with those she cares about. This is most evident in her fractured relationship with Marceline. Their estrangement stems from misunderstandings, pride, and unresolved hurt. For years, they drift apart, each carrying the weight of unspoken grievances. Yet when crises arise, they find their way back to each other. Through vulnerability, honesty, and shared history, they rebuild their bond. Their reconciliation is one of the most powerful examples of forgiveness in the series, showing that even long-standing wounds can heal when friends choose to face them. Marceline herself also struggles with trust. Her sarcastic, aloof exterior often masks deep fears of abandonment, born from centuries of loss. This makes her push people away or lash out when she feels vulnerable. Yet her friends, from Finn to Bubblegum, see through the facade. They forgive her sharp edges because they recognize the pain beneath them. Marceline's journey shows that forgiveness is not just about excusing mistakes, but about understanding the wounds that cause them. Friendship, in her case, survives because others are willing to look past the surface and embrace the person beneath. Even characters like Ice King reveal the trials of friendship in unique ways. His desperation for connection leads him to act in ways that harm others, from kidnapping princesses to interrupting lives. His behavior is frustrating, often dangerous, and seemingly unforgivable. Yet characters like Marceline, Finn, and Jake still extend moments of kindness to him. They recognize that his actions stem from loneliness and the corruption of the crown, not from true malice. Forgiving Ice King does not mean excusing his behavior, but it does mean acknowledging his humanity. This approach reflects Adventure Time's philosophy that compassion is essential, even for the most flawed figures. The trials of friendship also appear in smaller, more humorous ways. Characters like Lumpy Space Princess test patience constantly with their selfishness and drama. Finn and Jake often grow exasperated, yet they never cast her out completely. Instead, they learn to set boundaries, balancing acceptance with self-protection. These moments may be comedic, but they reflect real truths. That friendship requires tolerance, but also limits, and that forgiveness does not mean allowing harm to continue unchecked. What unites all these examples is the resilience of companionship in Ooh. Conflicts, betrayals, and disappointments are inevitable, but they are not the end. Adventure Time emphasizes that forgiveness is not a one-time act, but an ongoing process. Friends hurt each other, they make mistakes, and they fall short of expectations. But true friendship is defined by the willingness to try again, to repair what is broken, and to value connection over pride. This resilience mirrors the resilience of Ooh itself, a world scarred by war and destruction, yet constantly rebuilding, constantly choosing life over ruin. The symbolism of these trials is clear. Just as Ooh survives not by avoiding catastrophe, but by enduring it, friendships in Ooh survive not by avoiding conflict, but by working through it. Betrayal does not erase love, and disappointment does not erase loyalty. Instead, these struggles become the crucible in which bonds are tested and strengthened. Forgiveness is not portrayed as naive, but as courageous, the choice to trust again in a world that so often teaches mistrust. By portraying friendship in this way, Adventure Time rejects simplistic notions of loyalty. Companionship is not about blind devotion or the absence of flaws. It is about the messy, difficult, and beautiful process of staying connected despite imperfections. Finn and Flame Princess, Finn and PB, Jake and Finn, Marceline and Bubblegum, even Ice King and his scattered connections, all show that friendship is not static but dynamic, constantly tested and constantly renewed. In the end, the trials of friendship in Ooh remind us that the bonds worth keeping are those that survive conflict. Betrayal, disappointment, and anger are part of the human experience, but they do not have to end relationships. With forgiveness, patience, and understanding, friendships can endure and even grow stronger. In a world as fractured and uncertain as this philosophy becomes essential. Survival depends not on the avoidance of pain, but on the resilience to continue loving, even after being hurt. In chaos is never far away. Kingdoms rise and fall, cosmic entities threaten existence, and battles erupt that reshape the land itself. Adventure Time does not shy away from war and conflict, but it also does not frame them as struggles won by power alone. Again and again, the show insists that survival in such times depends on friendship. Wars are not won by solitary heroes, but by communities bound together. Companionship in is not just a comfort, it is a weapon, a shield, and the glue that holds resistance together when the world threatens to fall apart. The battles against the Lich provide some of the clearest examples of this philosophy. The Lich embodies pure destruction, a force of death that seeks to extinguish all life. Alone, no character could hope to stop him. Yet Finn and Jake, working together and supported by allies like Princess Bubblegum, Billy, and later even more unlikely figures, managed to stand against him. Their victories are not about individual strength, but about trust, coordination, and loyalty. Friendship becomes the counter to the Lich's isolation and emptiness. Where he represents the void, they represent connection. The Vampire King and the war against the Vampire Court further highlight this theme. Marceline, with her long history as a vampire and her eventual decision to confront her past, does not face this challenge alone. She is supported by Finn, Jake, and Princess Bubblegum, who stand by her side in the face of overwhelming odds. The battle is as much emotional as it is physical. Marceline must reckon with her identity, her loneliness, and her memories, and it is her friendships that give her the strength to endure. Without her companions, she might falter, but with them, she emerges victorious. These moments demonstrate that friendship in war is not only about numbers or strategy, but about emotional support. The conflict with Gumbald and the threat of civil war within the Candy Kingdom show another layer of this philosophy. Princess Bubblegum, for all her intelligence and authority, is not able to face the crisis alone. Her people, her friends, and even figures she once distrusted become essential in resisting chaos. Finn and Jake's loyalty, Marceline's unwavering support, and the alliances forged with others allow her to hold her kingdom together. The message is clear. Leadership may provide vision, but friendship provides resilience. In times of division, it is trust and companionship that prevent collapse. Even the final confrontation with Golb, the embodiment of chaos and entropy, is framed as a triumph of friendship. Golb is beyond comprehension, a cosmic force of disorder that no single hero could defeat. Yet when unites, when friends, families, and allies from across the land stand together, they find a way to survive. It is not one sword or one spell that secures victory, but the combined efforts of many. Marceline and Bubblegum fight side by side. Finn and Jake refuse to give up on each other, and even characters once defined by selfishness or villainy contribute. The survival of in this moment is not about the defeat of an enemy, but about the endurance of unity. What makes these portrayals of friendship in war so powerful is how grounded they are in the personal. Adventure Time does not depict armies clashing in abstract terms. It focuses on individuals who choose to stand together despite fear, anger, or difference. When Marceline joins PB in defending the kingdom, it is not just as a warrior, but as a friend reconciling with someone she once loved and lost. When Finn refuses to abandon Jake in danger, it is not just strategy, but devotion. These choices highlight the idea that in chaos, friendship is the most reliable source of meaning. At the same time, the show acknowledges that war and chaos strain friendships. Loyalties are tested, trust is challenged, and fear drives wedges between companions. Bubblegum's decisions in times of crisis often alienate those close to her. Finn and Jake sometimes disagree on how to respond to threats. Marceline struggles with the temptation to retreat into isolation. Yet the fact that these friendships endure despite such strain is what makes them powerful. Adventure Time portrays friendship not as fragile, but as resilient, able to bend under pressure without breaking. Symbolically, these moments suggest that friendship is the antidote to chaos. Where chaos thrives on fragmentation, friendship thrives on unity. Where war seeks to divide, friendship builds bridges. The image of diverse characters, humans, vampires, candy people, rainicorns, and more, fighting side by side against common threats, embodies the philosophy that strength lies not in uniformity, but in cooperation. Ooo itself is a patchwork world, born of destruction, but held together by the bonds of its inhabitants. Its survival depends not on erasing difference, but on embracing it through friendship. The trials of war also reveal that friendship is not about the absence of fear, but about the choice to face fear together. Characters are not fearless, they are terrified. But companionship transforms fear into courage. Finn's bravery against the Lich is magnified because Jake is by his side. Marceline's decision to face her vampire past is possible because her friends support her. PB's willingness to risk everything for her kingdom is sustained by those who stand with her. Adventure Time insists that courage is not an individual trait, but a collective one, born from trust in others. Friendship in times of chaos also carries a legacy beyond survival. After battle's end, what remains is not only victory, but the memory of unity. The friendships forged in conflict continue to shape Ooo long after the immediate threat is gone. Finn and Flame Princess, once divided, rebuild trust through shared struggle. Bubblegum and Marceline emerge from crises with a bond stronger than before. Even Ice King, in rare moments, finds connection during chaos, reminding us that no one is beyond the reach of companionship. These legacies affirm that friendship is not just a tool for war, but a foundation for peace. For viewers, the philosophy is clear. War and chaos are inevitable in any world, fictional or real. But friendship is what allows people to endure them without losing themselves. Adventure Time portrays companionship not as a luxury, but as a necessity, as vital to survival as weapons or strategies. The battles of Ooo are metaphors for the struggles of life, and the message is consistent. In the face of overwhelming darkness, what matters most is not power, but connection. Ultimately, Adventure Time's depiction of friendship in times of war and chaos affirms the series' central theme. The world may fracture, enemies may rise, and forces of destruction may threaten everything, but bonds of loyalty, love, and trust endure. These bonds do not erase fear or pain, but they transform them into something survivable. Ooo survives because its inhabitants choose each other, again and again, even in the face of chaos. In this philosophy, friendship is not just a comfort in war. It is the reason survival is possible at all. One of the most remarkable aspects of Adventure Time is how it imagines a world where difference is the rule, not the exception. Ooo is populated by candy people, vampires, rainicorns, humans, elementals, and countless other beings, each with their own histories, cultures, and conflicts. In such a world, the possibility of friendship across these divides becomes more than a theme, it becomes a philosophy of survival. Cross-species and cross-world friendships are not only common in Adventure Time, they are celebrated as the bonds that allow Ooo to remain whole despite its fractured nature. These relationships show that connection is not limited by language, biology, or history, but thrives in the willingness to see others as companions rather than enemies. Finn himself is the clearest embodiment of this philosophy. As the only known human for much of the series, he stands apart from everyone around him, yet he rarely dwells on that difference. Instead, he throws himself wholeheartedly into friendships with beings of every kind. Jake, his closest companion, is not human but a magical dog. Their bond is so natural that their difference is irrelevant. Finn's openness to companionship across species defines him, shaping the way he relates to Ooo as a whole. He never asks whether someone is like him before deciding if they are worth his loyalty. This openness allows him to connect with characters as different as Beemo, Princess Bubblegum, and Marceline, proving that friendship in Ooo is defined not by similarity but by choice. The relationship between Jake and Lady Rainicorn further illustrates this theme. They come from species with a history of conflict shaped by old grievances between dogs and rainicorns. Yet rather than letting the past dictate the present, they choose love and loyalty. Their family, a blend of rainicorn and dog traits, becomes living proof that reconciliation is possible. Their companionship demonstrates that the divides of history are not unbreakable and that friendship and love can rewrite the narratives of conflict. The children they raise symbolize not only unity, but the future of Ooo, a future defined by connection rather than division. Princess Bubblegum and Marceline also embody cross-boundary friendship, though in a different way. One is a ruler of candy people, the other an ancient vampire. Their personalities, responsibilities, and very natures are at odds, yet their bond survives estrangement and conflict to become one of the show's most powerful friendships. They prove that difference need not be an obstacle, but can instead deepen a relationship, bringing together perspectives that might otherwise never meet. Their connection shows that when two worlds collide, the result can be healing rather than destruction. Even minor characters demonstrate this philosophy. Beemo, as a living piece of technology, forms bonds with living beings of all kinds without hesitation. NEPTR, a robot created to make pie-throwing machines, becomes Beemo's friend and is welcomed by Finn and Jake, despite his oddity. These small friendships affirm that Ooo is not a place where worth is measured by species or function. It is a place where companionship can grow between anyone who chooses to embrace it. The show also portrays the difficulty of cross-species friendships, acknowledging that they are not always easy. Flame Princess and Finn's romance, later transforming into friendship, is strained precisely because of the destructive nature of her fire. Their connection requires care, boundaries, and patience. Similarly, Princess Bubblegum's relationships with others are often complicated by her identity as a ruler and a scientist, which sets her apart from those who prefer freedom or rebellion. Yet, even in these struggles, the willingness to try reflects the philosophy that friendship is worth the effort, even when it requires compromise. Marceline's friendships provide another perspective. As a friendship's vampire who has lived for centuries, she carries the weight of a history that no one else can fully share. Yet she still finds companionship with Finn, a young human, and Bubblegum, a candy monarch. Her ability to connect despite her age and otherness reflects the resilience of friendship in Ooo. The barriers of time and species cannot erase the fundamental human or non-human need for connection. These friendships are also symbolic of U itself. The land is a patchwork of kingdoms, cultures, and beings born from the aftermath of destruction. It should be a place of endless division, yet what sustains it is the web of connections across boundaries. When U faces existential threats, it is not one species or kingdom that triumphs, but the cooperation of many. Cross-species friendships are microcosms of this broader truth. Survival depends on unity. What makes these bonds so meaningful is their authenticity. Adventure Time does not portray them as shallow gestures of tolerance, but as real, lived-in relationships, full of humour, conflict, and growth. Jake and Lady Rainicorn bicker as any couple does, yet their love endures. Finn and Flame Princess hurt each other, yet their friendship survives. Marceline and Bubblegum push each other away, yet they find their way back. These dynamics show that cross-boundary friendships are not easy, but they are real, and that reality is what makes them powerful. The philosophy underlying these relationships resonates beyond U. It suggests that difference does not need to divide, and that connection is possible across the widest of gaps. In a fractured world, whether fictional or real, friendships that embrace difference become acts of resistance against division. Adventure Time makes this philosophy tangible by filling U with characters who refuse to let history, biology, or culture dictate who they can love and trust. By the end of the series, the endurance of these friendships affirms their importance. Finn, once the lone human, is never alone because he has built bonds across every imaginable boundary. Jake and Lady Rainicorn's family thrives, proving that reconciliation can become legacy. Marceline and Bubblegum emerge stronger together, bridging centuries of difference. Even figures like Ice King, so broken and strange, find moments of belonging because others look past the barriers to see the person beneath. These stories insist that in U, the meaning of friendship is inseparable from the ability to cross boundaries. Ultimately, Adventure Time shows that cross-species and cross-world friendships are not curiosities, but the essence of companionship in U. They are the reason kingdoms survive, the reason characters grow, and the reason life continues despite chaos. By embracing difference, the characters of Adventure Time affirm that unity is not sameness, but harmony. In a world defined by diversity and fracture, it is friendship across divides that holds everything together. Adventure Time is filled with fantastical landscapes, strange kingdoms, and surreal imagery. But beneath all the weirdness lies a coherent philosophy. That friendship is the force holding U together. This is not only expressed through the relationships of the characters, but also through the symbolic language of the show itself. Friendship in Adventure Time is not just a plot device. It is a metaphor woven into the fabric of the world, reflected in the imagery of U, the structure of its stories, and the journeys of its characters. To understand the meaning of friendship in Adventure Time, one must look not only at who the characters connect with, but at what those connections represent. From the very beginning, the relationship between Finn and Jake is presented as more than simple companionship. Their partnership is a symbol of balance, with Finn embodying youthful courage and Jake representing laid-back wisdom. Together, they form a complete whole, a metaphor for the duality of action and relaxation, passion and patience. Their adventures become symbolic explorations of how opposites can coexist in harmony, suggesting that friendship itself is the bridge between different energies. They are not perfect alone, but together they form a symbolic unity that represents the heart of U. Lady Rainicorn extends this symbolism even further. Her rainbow-coloured body, stretching across the land, is an image of friendship itself, vibrant, fluid, and connecting disparate spaces. She embodies the idea of a bridge between species, between cultures, between individuals. Her relationship with Jake and her loyalty to Princess Bubblegum reinforce this symbolism. She is not just a companion, but a living metaphor for harmony across divides, a reminder that friendship can literally stretch across boundaries that otherwise seem insurmountable. Princess Bubblegum and Marceline symbolize another essential aspect of friendship: reconciliation. Their relationship is not smooth or simple, but fractured, healed, and strengthened through struggle. The fact that their bond survives centuries of distance and disagreement is a symbol of endurance. In them, friendship is represented as a cycle, broken, repaired, and made stronger. This cycle reflects the resilience of Ooo itself, a land scarred by destruction, yet constantly rebuilding. Their connection symbolizes hope that even the deepest fractures can be healed by loyalty and love. Bimo represents innocence as a symbol of companionship. As a living console with a childlike personality, Bimo's friendships are defined by imagination, play, and joy. Symbolically, Bimo embodies the purity of connection, untainted by power struggles, politics, or history. Bimo's relationships with Finn, Jake, and even smaller characters like Nepta show that friendship is at its core about shared joy. In a world full of chaos, Bimo's presence is a symbol of how innocence and playfulness sustain bonds just as much as bravery or wisdom. Even Ice King carries symbolic weight in the philosophy of friendship. His constant failures to connect, his misguided attempts to kidnap princesses, and his loneliness under the crown symbolize the absence of friendship. He represents what happens when connection is lost, when isolation consumes identity. Yet even his story contains symbolic hope. Marceline's enduring care for Simon reminds us that even the most fractured figures remain tethered to others. Ice King's existence becomes a metaphor for the tragedy of loneliness, but also for the resilience of love that persists despite it. The conflicts of Ooo often mirror this symbolic framework. The Lich, for example, represents the antithesis of friendship, absolute void, destruction, and isolation. His presence threatens to erase connection itself. The battles against him are not just physical, but symbolic of companionship resisting oblivion. The survival of Finn, Jake, and their allies becomes a metaphor for how friendship resists the pull of despair. Similarly, the confrontation with Golb, the embodiment of chaos and entropy, carries symbolic meaning. Golb cannot be defeated by power alone, but only resisted through unity, through the bonds of those willing to stand together. These battles symbolize the philosophy that chaos and destruction can never truly win as long as friendship endures. The geography of Ooo itself reflects the symbolism of friendship. The land is a patchwork of kingdoms and biomes, each wildly different from the others. On the surface, these differences should create division, yet the friendships between their inhabitants bind them together. The Candy Kingdom, the Fire Kingdom, the Ice Kingdom, the Nightosphere, and beyond all interact through the connections formed by characters like Finn, PB, Marceline, Flame Princess, and Ice King. Ooo is less a unified realm than a mosaic, and the glue holding that mosaic together is friendship. The symbolic lesson is clear. Diversity does not weaken community when it is embraced through connection. The recurring use of music in Adventure Time also symbolizes friendship. Songs often serve as bridges between characters, carrying emotions too complex to express in dialogue. Marceline's music is her most honest expression of love and longing, and when others listen or join her, the act becomes symbolic of intimacy. Bemo's playful songs symbolize innocence, while Jake's occasional musical contributions symbolize joy and relaxation. Music in Adventure Time is not just entertainment, but a metaphor for how shared expression creates bonds. It symbolizes the act of listening, responding, and harmonizing, all essential elements of friendship. Even humor in Adventure Time carries symbolic meaning for companionship. Characters like Lumpy Space Princess or Tree Trunks may not contribute directly to epic battles, but their quirks and comedic moments symbolize another truth, that laughter itself is a bond. Shared humor creates memory, resilience, and joy, even in the face of crisis. By making space for these eccentric figures, the show symbolizes inclusivity, that friendship is not limited to the strong or wise, but open to everyone, no matter how odd or imperfect. The symbolism of friendship also extends to legacy. The children of Jake and Lady Rainicorn symbolize reconciliation between species once divided by conflict. Finn's ability to maintain bonds across romantic disappointment symbolizes maturity and acceptance. Bubblegum and Marceline's reunion symbolizes the healing of old wounds. Each friendship carries meaning not just in the present, but as a metaphor for the endurance of connection across time, history, and change. For viewers, the symbolic language of Adventure Time makes its philosophy of friendship resonate more deeply. The rainbow stretching across the sky, the guitar riff echoing across Ooh, the laughter of an eccentric side character, the embrace between two estranged friends, all become symbols of the truth that friendship is what sustains life in a fractured world. These images linger because they carry meaning beyond the literal, reflecting truths about how companionship heals, connects, and endures. Ultimately, Adventure Time uses symbolism to argue that friendship is not simply part of life in Ooh, but the essence of it. The world is chaotic, diverse, and often frightening, but the bonds between its characters symbolize the possibility of harmony. The Lich may symbolize void, Golb may symbolize chaos, but Finn, Jake, Marceline, Bubblegum, Bemo, and all the rest symbolize the resilience of connection. The show insists that as long as friendship exists, no amount of destruction or difference can unravel Ooh completely. In this way, the symbolism of friendship is not subtle background, but the central message. That connection across divides is the truest magic in Adventure Time. When Adventure Time draws to its close, the world of Ooh is still strange, still fractured, still filled with chaos and mystery. Yet what endures is not the battles fought or the villains defeated, but the friendships that bind its characters together. From the earliest adventures of Finn and Jake to the final confrontation with cosmic forces, companionship is the thread that runs through the story. The legacy of Adventure Time is not only the fantastical imagery or surreal humour, but the reminder that friendship, in all its forms, is what survives when everything else changes. Finn and Jake embody this legacy most clearly. Their brotherly bond, forged in countless adventures, remains at the heart of the show. By the end, Finn is older, wiser, and more reflective, while Jake has embraced his role as a partner, father, and friend. Their relationship is not static, but has grown with them, shifting from carefree escapades to deeper trust and responsibility. What survives after all their adventures is the assurance that no matter what happens to Ooh, Finn and Jake's bond endures. Their companionship is the model for all others, resilient, adaptive, and deeply human in a world of strangeness. The friendships between characters who once stood at odds also leave an enduring legacy. Princess Bubblegum and Marceline, whose bond fractured under pride and estrangement, reconcile and stand together. Their reunion is not presented as simple nostalgia, but as a hard-earned connection rebuilt through honesty and vulnerability. The survival of their friendship symbolizes the healing of old wounds and the truth that reconciliation is possible even after centuries of division. Their companionship stands as one of the clearest legacies of the show, that no matter how much time has passed, or how deep the hurt, love and loyalty can restore what was lost. Jake and Lady Rainicorn leave a legacy of family and reconciliation. Their decision to choose each other, despite histories of conflict creates a household where difference becomes strength. Their children embody the blending of cultures, the overcoming of prejudice, and the continuity of love. They represent the future of Uu, living proof that companionship can rewrite history itself. In their family, we see the philosophy that friendship does not only shape the present, but builds a foundation for generations to come. Bimo, the small console with boundless imagination, leaves behind a legacy of innocence and joy. Bimo's friendships remind everyone that companionship does not always need to be profound or dramatic. Sometimes it is as simple as playing games, sharing stories, or offering a song. In the epilogue, Bimo's presence affirms that innocence endures even after chaos. Bimo becomes a symbol of continuity, the reminder that friendship's joy is as essential as its loyalty. Even characters defined by loneliness leave legacies of connection. Ice King, or Simon Petrikov, may never fully reclaim what he lost, but his relationships endure in fragments. Marceline's unwavering care for him ensures that he is never fully forgotten, never entirely alone. His legacy is bittersweet, reminding us that companionship may falter, but it never truly disappears. The traces of love that survive even through madness affirm the resilience of friendship, even in tragedy. The conflicts of Uu themselves resolve into legacies of unity. The Lich, Gumbald, and Golb each represent forces that seek to unravel connection, void, division, and chaos. Yet none succeed in erasing friendship. Each time, the characters of Uu resist, not only with strength, but with unity. The fact that Uu survives at all is the ultimate legacy of companionship. The land remains fractured and strange, but its people endure because they choose each other. The memory of these battles becomes part of the story of Uu, that when the world teeters on the edge of destruction, it is friendship that holds it together. What also survives is the inclusivity of companionship in Ua, from the quirks of tree trunks to the chaos of lemongrab, from the drama of lumpy space princess to the innocence of Nepta. Even the most eccentric figures are folded into the fabric of community. Adventure Time affirms that friendship is not only for the noble or the heroic, but for everyone. This inclusivity is part of its legacy, a philosophy that the odd, the imperfect, and the difficult are still worthy of companionship. In Uu, friendship is expansive, and that expansiveness survives the end of the story. The epilogue reinforces this message by showing continuity rather than closure. Life in Uu goes on. Characters who fought together return to their homes, families remain intact, and new stories begin. The wars and battles are over, but what remains are the bonds between people. The legacy of Adventure Time is that even after great upheaval, friendship carries forward. It is not erased by time or conflict, but becomes the foundation for whatever comes next. Symbolically, the survival of friendship in Adventure Time mirrors the survival of U itself. The land is scarred by the Mushroom War, shaped by chaos, and continually threatened by destruction. Yet it endures, not because it is whole, but because it is held together by connection. In the same way, the characters endure not because they are perfect or without conflict, but because they continue to choose one another. Friendship becomes the glue of the world and the ultimate legacy of its story. For viewers, this legacy resonates because it reflects reality. Life is filled with conflict, loss, and change. Yet friendships, however imperfect, provide continuity. Adventure Time shows that even when worlds collapse, companionship survives. The laughter shared, the reconciliations achieved, the families built, and the forgiveness extended. These are the legacies that matter more than any battle won. The show insists that survival without connection is hollow, but survival with friendship is meaningful. Ultimately, the legacy of friendship in Adventure Time is that it is both ordinary and extraordinary. It is ordinary in the sense that it is present in small acts, in jokes, in pies shared, in songs sung. It is extraordinary in the sense that it can resist even cosmic forces of destruction. By the end of the story, what U holds onto is not its victories or its scars, but its bonds. Friendship survives because it is the most enduring force in the world, capable of bridging species, healing wounds, and outlasting chaos. Adventure Time closes with the image of U continuing, its people alive and its friendships intact. This is the final statement of the series' philosophy, that no matter what is lost, what is fought, or what is endured, the meaning of life lies in connection. The legacy of friendship is the legacy of U itself, strange, fractured, imperfect, but held together by love. And that legacy is what survives long after the adventure ends.